For lesson 24, we're actually kind of moving into a new section in Module 2. The big change is that we're moving from multi-digit division problems. So say, for example, you've got a 3 or a 4-digit number that you're dividing by a 2-digit number. In this case, as you can see here, we've got a couple of digits divided by just 1. In this case, a couple digits divided by 2. But we've got decimals in here. That's the big difference. So this is saying show every other division sentence in 2 steps. So every other one, it's not this one, but it's this one. So all of them that are in this column, we're going to be doing in 2 steps. All of them in this column, we're just going to be kind of thinking, you can mental math it maybe a little bit. We'll be looking at place values. So in this case, we have 1 and 8/10. Another way to look at that is 18/10. You can remember kind of the way we looked at place values, that it's really in relation to something overflowing. So if we have 18, we're saying it's all tenths. Remember, if it's more than 1 digit, it's going to overflow into the next place value. So if it's 18 of them, then the 10 actually overflows and becomes into the ones place. So we just did the opposite of that. We took 1 and 8/10 and we kind of made it so that they're both in the tenths place on the place value chart. Now we're dividing by 6, and we know, and you can look up here for the answer, 3 times 6 is 18. There is no difference, so we're done with that part of the math. But we're not dealing with oranges or 18 apples or 18 candies or anything like that. Our noun is tenths, so our answer has the same noun, 3/10, which looks just like this, because there's nothing in the ones place, the 3 is in the tenths place. That's why we write it as a decimal. The next thing that it's got going here, I'm going to show you kind of a correction that I think should have come into play, because it makes more sense and it connects to what we started the beginning of the year with. You remember, if you have 2 and you multiply it by 10, the 2 moves one place value to the tens place. If you say 2 times 100, the 2 moves 2 place values and it lands in the hundreds place. And if you say 2 times 1,000, boom, you've got 2,000. Because the 2 moved 3 place values, it moved the same number of zeros that you had. And if you do the opposite of that, opposite of multiply means divide. If you have 2 divided by 10, it becomes 2/10. 2 divided by 100 becomes 2/100. 2 divided by 1,000 becomes 2,000. So I'm going to divide by 10 to start with. The way they did it is they divided by 6 first. But let's look at dividing by 10 first. So if you have 1 and 8/10 and you divide that by 10, what's going to happen is everybody's going to lose a place value. So the 1 is going to move from the ones place to the tenths place. The 8 is going to move from the tenths place to the hundredths place. So now we've taken care of that one. Now let's do the next part of it, and we're going to divide by 6. And we can do it the same way we just did and say 18, but it's not tenths this time, it's hundredths this time for our noun. Hundredths. And we are still dividing by 6. 6 times 3 is still 18, just like it was before. That's not changed. There's no difference. But this time our noun is not tenths, it's hundredths. So when you write it like an actual decimal, there's going to be nothing in the ones place, nothing in the tens place, and there's going to be a 3 in the hundredths place, just like they got. Let's do it again on another one. Let's take a look at this one here. So this time around we have 8/10, and we are dividing it by 4 this time. So 4 times what gets you 8? How many 4s fit into 8? 2 of them. 2 times 4 is 8. No difference. but we have to move our noun up top, 2/10. When we write it as a decimal, it means there's nothing in the ones place, and we have 2 in the tenths place then. Now let's take a look at this one where we're going to do two things. We're going to say 80. We're dividing by something that's in the hundreds. So I'm going to divide by 100 first, so we can get our place values all squared away first. So I know that everybody's going to lose 2 place values. Another way to look at it is we've talked about moving the decimal 2. So it's going to end up losing 2 place values. So the 8 is not going to stay in the tens place. It's not going to move to the ones place. It's actually going to move to the tenths place. So here's 8 in the tenths place now. We don't need that 0 anymore because it doesn't really matter. If you have a 0 there, there's just a nothing. So we're going to leave a nothing. So now we've taken care of the fact that we're in the hundreds. We've taken care of this by dividing by 100. Now we're going to say, let's divide by 4. And we're going to use that noun again. We're going to say 8/10 divided by 4. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. There is no difference, but we have to move this up top because it's our noun. It's not 2 oranges, it's not 2 apples, it's 2/10. So there are no ones, there's nothing whole. So you can kind of see what happened here is this had, in terms of place value, it was missing a place. This one had just the ones place. So this one right here, it's like if you get rid of 2 of these place values and 2 of these place values, they match, and that's the reason why the answers match. Now we're going to take a look at a word problem. It's kind of complicated. I've redone my video a couple of times now just to make sure I was getting this one appropriate for how to describe it to you. I'm going to use that two-step method. So in this case, they've already have the answer here, but I'm going to show you how they got it because it tells us right here, use place value reasoning and the first quotient to think about the second quotient. So our second quotient will be the answer that goes here. And then use place value to explain how you place the decimal point. So in this case, what we have here is 65 and 6/10, and we're dividing by 80. So I'm going to do 2 steps. I know 8 is in the tens place, so I'm going to divide by 10 to start with. So that means when we do that, we lose a place value. So if we lose a place value, the 6 moves from the tens place to the ones place. The 5 moves from the ones place to the tenths place. The 6 moves from the tenths to the hundredths place. And now the next step, because we've taken care of the fact that that was in the tens, now we can just do our 8 and say divide by 8. This time what we have is 656. The 6 is in the hundredths place. So I'm going to say 6, 5, 6 hundredths. That's our noun. And we're dividing it by 8. I know 8 times 8 gets me really close to 65 because 8 times 8 is 64. We subtract, we've got 1 difference. We bring down our 6. I know 8 times 2 gets me that, so it's 16. And now we're down to nothing left, and we got no remainder. So we just have to move the noun up top. Hundredths. And so when you write that as a decimal, there's nothing in the ones place, and you have 80 and a 2 in the hundredths place, 8 in the tenths place. So that's how they got this. See, ours matches. That's how it came out to be that way. So now we'll do this one and come up with our second quotient. And so we, in this case, so in this case, we have no 10 to divide by because the 8's already in the ones place, right? So in this case, we're going to say 656. The 6 is in the tenths place. So we can say tenths. We are dividing by 8 yet again. And it's still 8 times 8 is 64. 1 different between the two. We bring down our 6, and 8 times 2 is still 16. So we make our 16. Find the difference. There is none. And this is going to go up here, the noun, tenths. And so it doesn't look like this, but it's still an 8-2. This is still an 8-2. But 82 tenths means that this just moves on over one place value because it overflowed, right? If 2 is in the tenths place, you can't have on that place value chart like we started the beginning of the year. Remember the place value chart with your decimal here? This is the tenths place. And we had 82 here. So it overflows. This comes over to the ones place. Just like that. So that's what's happening with these. So for your homework tonight, I'm going to ask you to, on this exit ticket, I would like you to pick 2 of these. Pick 2 to work out. Skipping out on a word problem. Okay? All right. So pick 2 of those. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.